Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And wow, we have quite the spiciness to dive into today. Just a few days ago it was Simp versus Formal. Now it seems to be Kenny versus Formal on the timeline and on YouTube over the last 24 hours or so. Especially interesting given the result that Thieves got yesterday up against the Mutineers. Intrigued to get your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. First of all, I wanted to mention this from Treyarch. So they did confirm on Twitter that standoff is coming on May the 20th as we expected them to, but well, also there is a new round of weapon tuning updates coming in next week's update with adjustments for all the snipers, ARs, LMGs and pistols. We don't know of course whether this will impact the competitive meta by any means, but of course there has been some discussion. The Krig is pretty strong at the moment. Could it get nerfed? Could it get buffed? I don't really know what Treyarch want to do. Is the FFAR going to become more viable? Are other weapons potentially coming into the mix? Of course, you know, AK-74 or AK-47 even in the XM4 already been GA'd, so I doubt they're coming back anytime soon regardless of what they do. But if they get nerfed maybe, you could well, you could see a world in which those weapons come back. Don't really think it's going to happen, but the pros certainly have a lot to get used to from next Thursday on the 20th. When standoff arrives, they've got to figure out what game modes that's going to work for, and also they've got to figure out this new meta, as is a world tradition here in Call of Duty. So certainly keep an eye on it, especially the sniper rifle point, given the fact that, well, we kind of know sniper rifles aren't in the game right now. Maybe if they, you know, get rid of the aim assist or something, or at least have that as an option in private matches for custom games and the like, then okay, maybe snipers could actually come back for Search and Destroy this year. Something that we will discuss over the coming days for certain. This was the last series of the day we didn't talk about last night. Mutineers versus Los Angeles Thieves. What a series it was. Both of these teams brought some incredible action to the party. And well, it was Mutineers getting the better of it. Neptune went absolutely massive these first couple of maps. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Thieves just well, they just couldn't seem to kill this guy. He was all the way over towards the backside trying to anchor spawns for the next hill. And so he killed like 5 people in a row. Everyone on Thieves was like, okay, yeah, I've got him, lads. And like, Huke, we'll send Huke in. Okay, he couldn't get him. We'll send Drazah in. We'll send Venom in. We'll send Kenny in. None of them could kill him. He goes in a 7 streak, gets full streaks, completely anchors them to spawns, and they bring back this game because Thieves are really, really good at checkmate hardpoints. For Mutineers to, well, to play it against them and then win it with Neptune making that crazy play was pretty insane. And yeah, Thieves looking a little bit more disjointed than you might have expected. I mean, you still see Huke dropping around, getting like crazy 2 pieces all the time, but yeah, it seems like their coordination isn't quite where it needs to be as yet. And Mutineers looked very good last week up against the Dallas Empire, let's not forget. Now they've done it here against Thieves in a very important winners round 1 match. And of course on the Thieves side, that is one of the more interesting things given the fact as well, given exactly the fact that they made this move. And the question was, okay, was TJ the right man to go out? Should they have made this move in the first place? Some people were saying. Then we go into a Search and Destroy Express, and this game, I mean, this is just one that you cannot lose if you're Los Angeles Thieves. 3 versus 2 in the final round. Skies and Neptune, all you've got to do is close them out. Kenny comes in for the child because he knows his teammates are on the flank, and Neptune gets a 2-piece that is just impossible to get. I'm not really sure why Huke just came walking around the corner like that. If you double chow that together, one guy slides out, one guy jumps out. Clearly the cameras were not aligned there because there's no way that the Florida guys weren't doing anything, and Havoc was just ice cold watching Neptune clutch this pretty ridiculous 1 versus 2. I'm not really sure how Huke doesn't get the trade there. You've got to be making those, well, you've got to not be making those mistakes, let's just say, on the Los Angeles Thieves side. You can't be affording Neptune to win you 2 games in a row because he actually got an ace here in the round 11 as well. So pretty remarkable scenes, to be honest. As a Crone says, Neptune at the end of every map, and then they finish it off as well. I think the control was pretty close for the fair. It was actually Thieves making the reverse sweep within the control on checkmate. But this final map, I think Thieves had the advantage early on. The Mutineers bring it back and close out the series in a 3-1 fashion. Very impressive stuff. Now, before we dive into some of the reaction to this, I wanted to talk about exactly what was going on before the day even kicked off. That being on the Los Angeles Thieves side. They did a nice little pre-show. And look, Thieves certainly know how to create some storylines, create some rivalries, create some drama, this type of stuff that we talk about on the channel. And I thought the pre-show was a great addition to that. Obviously, some entertaining characters on here. Certainly enough. I thought it was kind of funny there, the 4 guys in the background sitting on these like tiny little stools as the rest of the guys were discussing what was going on, but it was pretty cool all things considered. And Nature on the boys were certainly asking them some pretty interesting questions, discussing the whole Optic issues that they have had so far, asking Kenny what's going on with that team, why do people really not talk about Formal as much as they used to, is what Nature's getting at. And Kenny kind of goes off on the main stage discussing how, yeah, Formal is basically the worst player on the team right now for, well, a number of different reasons, mainly because pretty much everyone on that team apart from Envoy is just playing for kills right now and not actually playing well as a team. So pretty interesting statements from Kenny without a doubt.
What, Ken, is Envoy the best player on the team, or are we capping? Is he the best player on the team?
I think Brandon's Brandon. Dashy is Dashy, but
I don't know what that means.
I'm just saying. Wait. Let's not cap. Dashy has one of the best shots in COD, and that's a fact.
Yeah, no
and
question.
we know this.
100%.
So that's what I'm saying. So like, I think the main problem
that doesn't make him best player.
So for me, I'm curious
but
now.
that's what I'm saying. The problem is that Dashy is not comfortable with the Krig, and Envoy takes all their routes. So, like, that's literally their main two problems, I think. You got one player taking routes, and he's not frying on the routes consistently.
Okay. I always thought that Formal was always one of the best players. I mean, he always made the right play. No matter what the game mode was, he was always gunning people. Is Formal not considered like a top 10, top 15 player anymore?
I'm retired. Why are you looking at me? I don't know.
I'm just looking. I mean, I'm curious to hear from you guys.
I don't think
Formal was always so good. Is he still that good?
No, wait. Matt shoots really straight. That's not the problem. The problem is, like, you say he makes the best play all the time, but I feel like right now he's, I don't even know if I can say this, but like kill whoring technically. Like, he's not taking any routes at all.
That's what I like, Ken. Talk that, boy.
I mean, like,
that's what I'm talking about.
He's not setting his team up for like success. He's more so just setting himself up for kills. And it's like nowadays game is like, you gotta have the like great teamwork because everybody shoots so straight nowadays. It's like the talent's at all-time high. There's no problem with any of them shooting straight. It's just like they don't work as a team at all. They just take solo gunfights. And so, like I said, it's just more so just them all kill whoring while Envoy just takes routes. So I think that's like their major problem, to be honest, as real as it gets.
You know what's crazy, Ken? Cap actually texted me that the other day. He was like, yo, Formal don't do nothing right on the map. And I was like, well, I don't care. Why are you texting me? But anyway.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. That happens.
Ken, who's the worst player on Optic Gaming?
Worst
this
player
is going in the title.
Now?
Right now. This is going in the YouTube title.
All right, so Formal's the worst player on their team right now. I mean, it's only 4 players. You can't. It ain't like a roast. It's the facts.
My man already said Formal was the worst player on the team.
Wait, but that's
going right on Twitter too.
Everybody would agree with that. No, I mean, like I said, I'm not.
He's still going.
So I'm wondering what you guys think about these statements from Kenny. Is Kenny correct on this issue? Is that one of the issues with Optic, right? Because we always hear this discussion about teamwork and stuff like this. And is the reason why some of their guys are actually not playing the game quite like they should as a unit, playing for kills more than other things on the map? Certainly. And this is probably something you don't necessarily see out of a team like Toronto Ultra. Of course, you look at Toronto because they're winning, you can kind of justify everything that they do. But it seems like everyone's contributing, everyone's playing very well as a unit, and that's kind of the whole discussion around Toronto, is that yes, they might not have the most incredibly individually talented players of all time on their team. Certainly their players are very talented, there's no getting around that, but they get much more out of their individuals. They kind of create a team which is greater than the sum of its parts in a sense, which sometimes seems like with Optic that you don't necessarily get a team that's greater than the sum of its individual parts. If anything, it's the other way around, and maybe that does indicate kind of what Kenny's saying. But I thought it was kind of interesting that he was like, yeah, Formal's the worst player on their team, and pretty much everyone would agree with me if you ask people around the pro scene, which is very interesting, right? Given you have to have the whole discussion. Of course, we'll see how Optic do later today and throughout the rest of the major if they can get through the Los Angeles Grillers later today that we will look at. But if Optic were to make a change, you got to think, often the team that makes the change or the player that goes out of the team is the player that's the weakest player on the team for whatever reason. Now, that isn't always the case by any means, and maybe Formal isn't the worst player on the team, but if you did have to make a change, is that what you consider? I'm not really sure, because Enable also said in this pre-show, like, look, if I'm managing Optic right now, I'm dropping people on their necks. Like, people are going to be out of the team if they continue performing like this. Of course, it's not that easy when you're Optic and you've got players that are pretty much undroppable, and obviously for good reason. There's more things outside of just winning for this team, but at the end of the day, Kenny, I thought he had some pretty interesting statements to say on the matter, especially given the fact that, we then go into a series where Kenny and, his individual performance wasn't great in this series. The teamwork out of Los Angeles Thieves also wasn't seeming to be too great in this series, and as you can see on screen right here, Crone actually pointed this out, but I do think it was kind of funny that after Kenny loses this series, he tweets out, pitiful out of us, GG's Florida, we lost 3-1. It was actually Formal that comes in and likes this tweet, so kind of petty, I guess, but pretty entertaining nonetheless, given the fact that Formal just got called out by Kenny for being like the worst player on Optic or whatever, and now, Kenny, of course, loses the series. There's certainly a little bit of spice, a little bit of drama between these two at the present time. This I thought was interesting from Nation as well, some of the reaction to the series. Man, we are throwing so many small mistakes. No doubt about that. Game 1, Game 2, both should have really been, Thieves if they'd have played it correctly. But, when it came down to crunch time, they just couldn't do it. As Nate says, this tweet was a little out of pocket as an owner of the team mid-series. It's hard to balance in my own head as a former player watching these games. I get a little too competitive. I'm off Call of Duty Twitter until the end of the major. So interesting from Nature to say already. And at the end of the day, I'm sure Nadeshot sometimes was just like, oh, you know, get me in the server, lads. I'd have clutched that, or at least I'd have traded that clutch right to the end of, well, right at the death of that Search and Destroy, especially, because that really could have been a turnaround point of that series. And once again, really, Thieves look close, they look competitive, but they just can't seem to quite clutch up in the key moments. We saw a similar thing really up against the subliners just a few days ago. So very interesting. They bring in Huke, understandably so. You're not really going to pass up an opportunity like Huke when he is on the table. But well, at the end of the day, they've actually looked worse so far than they did when they still had TJ in the team. So what exactly should they do with the lineup? Do we keep it as it is? Of course, we see how it goes for the rest of the major. But very interesting, because Thieves, of course, big topic of discussion bringing in Huke into their lineup. If he doesn't work out for them, what does that say about, well, the team itself? What does that say about Huke as an individual on the team? Does he need Clayster alongside him to actually get the success that he saw in the Modern Warfare seasons? A very interesting storylines that come as a result of this. And well, this is what Methods tweets out during the series. TJHaLy, is he the glue to this lineup? Since deleted this, well, Methods did. This is why I'm taking it from a Discord screenshot right here. But then Slacked actually just comes out and basically steals the idea, but actually does keep the tweet up. And this I thought was kind of funny, given the fact that Slacked was on the Mutineers, but now he's no longer there anymore, and he's on the bench just like TJ is. But well, he tweets out, hey, 100 Thieves, you guys drop something. And well, it's obviously TJ being the glue to this team. And without TJ on the team, it's obviously not looking so good. So, you know, if I'm Venom right now, I'm kind of concerned. I mean, there was that one kill that maybe he should have got, but I saw someone put it on Reddit, like well, they looked at it in slow motion, and it seemed like he honestly nailed, like, Awakening 6 times in the back, but for some reason, it didn't connect, or the bullets didn't connect, and Awakening got away. Pretty hard kill, that guy, certainly. But, okay, there was certainly some individual 1v1 fights that may have swung the tide of this battle. And it's like saying, look, you got to bring TJ back into the team, otherwise, well, you're not going to quite have the success that you did before. Now, of course, you don't really bring him back in for Huke, given they've probably paid, you know, upwards of 500 grand, if not more, for his buyout from the team. That is at least the going rumor at the present time. And as Kenny says in reply, no playtime, so this is the result. Interesting, ... And JCap, their coach, goes into some more detail on it as well. Man, some of the takes I read about COD make me feel like people don't actually watch or don't understand what they're watching. Let me say this more clearly while I am annoyed. Our series was determined by 51 points total in 2 hard points, a round 11 search, and a round 5 control. If you watch a series like that and think a few one-on-one fights is ever why a team lost, you simply do not understand, and you should block me, he straight up says. Now, you know, he does say in reply that, okay, sometimes some individual fights can swing the fate of a game, but at the end of the day, it's not about winning those fights, it's more about playing well as a team, so you can win a series regardless of whether you win those individual fights, which I do think it was a pretty interesting discussion, certainly. And well, they have some things to figure out over at the Thieves side, because they are dropping it down to the losers bracket. And speaking of what's going to be happening in the winners bracket today, it's going to be Ultra versus FaZe, rematch from the Stage 2 Grand Finals. This I just thought was ridiculous. Simp's KD across the last 3 years. Look at this Search and Destroy in Black Ops 4 when he first came in. Even last year as well, it was just absolutely ridiculous. And this year he's actually got better in hardpoint and control, and his Search and Destroy has dropped off to some degree, maybe because the rest of his team has been absolutely piecing in that game. But yes, there are going to be some incredible matches coming up later today. This is the bracket as it stands right now. So on the winner's side of things, FaZe of course got through, as did the Mutineers. So Ultra versus FaZe, New York Subliners versus Mutineers will finish off the day. And then on the elimination side, we've got first up Ravens versus Minnesota. Rokkr, can London continue their run? And the winner of that will play Los Angeles Thieves. And then the second game of the day, LAG, he looked solid yesterday, no doubt, against Seattle Surge, up against Optic Chicago. This I don't think is going to be a walkover for Optic by any means, especially because, I mean, against Seattle, I'd have picked them as massive favourites because they've beaten them pretty much every single time. LAG, I'm not so convinced that it's going to be too easy for them. LAG have looked solid, not only in the respawns, but also in the Search and Destroys. It's going to take a decent level from Optic Chicago to get over the line in this series, and if they do win that, they play the Dallas Empire, and the losers run could continue for whoever makes their way through. So these are the games of the day. Intrigued to hear your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm. Know you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and I'm growing the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care, and I will see you next time.